I'm losing my mind. My daughter showed him video of me cheating and helped him take cruel revenge. From this day henceforth, I do not have a daughter. I'm here to share the story of how I got betrayed by my own daughter and husband, and there's no pain worse than that. Isn't it baffling that my own daughter would team up with my husband to get revenge on me just because I cheated? She found out I was cheating on her father, so she decided to reveal the truth behind my back and then hatch up a plan in order to make my life a living hell. She showed him the video without thinking twice about our relationship. I've done my best as a mother, and this is how my daughter wants to pay me? I've gone through too much embarrassment already, so I'm sorry, but I'll not be revealing my real name. I can't risk getting betrayed by someone else again. I'll refer to myself as Taylor, and then my daughter would be called Leah, while I'll call my husband Greg. I'm sorry if the names sound weird. I'm not good with faking things. I'm 36 years old, by the way, and my husband is 38 years old. My daughter just turned 16 a few months ago, and she has decided to show me how bratty teenagers can be. My marriage, what one would call a miracle marriage. Why, that's because it was never really meant to happen in the first place, but circumstances made me meet my husband. Everything I have done, I did for my family, but now they are against me. I did cheat on him truly, and I regret it with every single fiber in me. I hate myself, and I've tried to forget about me cheating on him. It's something I'm not proud of at all. That's why it hurts me that a video evidence is out there that shows what I did. If I regret it, then why did I do it? Honestly, it was a buildup in our marriage. It all started from the day I got greedy and stopped being content with my marriage. I started going out with the wrong friends, and I just got too wild and irresponsible. I know I'm in my late 30s and shouldn't be talking about peer influence, but that's what happened. I just got uncontrollable to the extent that I started making the wrong choices frequently. Greg didn't earn enough, and it was embarrassing. I took matters into my own hands and decided to mingle with my rich friends and ask them for a way out. I wanted to live a better life, so I asked my friends to help me out. They told me the best way to do that was to mingle with rich people and ask them for help. I started doing that, but it was the start of the end of my marriage. Greg just hated my desire to become wild and social. Greg noticed the change in me and tried his best to get close enough to ask why I was being someone different, but I refused to listen to him. I would leave the house late in the night and come back the next morning. Things got so bad that Greg had to take our daughter to his mother's house. He claimed that I was just being too horrible as a mother. Was he exaggerating? He definitely wasn't, because even I realized that I was a bad mother to her at some point. I didn't pay attention to my daughter because I was too busy trying to fit in with my wild and classy friends. My main agenda was to get us a better life, but I lost focus, and that's how I ended up cheating on Greg. Never did I imagine that my wild escapees would lead to me being unfaithful in my marriage, but it happened. It all started at my friend's house party. It was a very wild party, and many adults were doing questionable things. Even the people I knew claimed to be happily married were cheating on their partners like it was nothing. Of course, I noticed what was going on, but I never thought I would fall victim to it. So how did it happen? I was shocked when a tall guy walked into the room. There's nothing special about a tall guy walking into the room, right? But this particular guy seemed to grab a lot of attention. That's the only reason I noticed his presence. I also noticed that my friend who was hosting the house party left what she was doing just to run to him and welcome him. It was later that evening I discovered that the tall guy was my friend's boss. That's how my greed kicked in. Look, Greg is not poor or struggling, but he's definitely not rich. He's the only son out of 7 children, so he takes care of his entire family too. Most of the money he earns hardly ever remains enough to be used for purchasing expensive things. Once in a while, we struggle for what to eat. Even my daughter's future in college is rocky because we do not have a lot saved up, and it doesn't help that I'm a housewife and I do not work. When I saw Tom, I just thought it would be nice to have him as a friend so he could help Greg with a job at his company. I can swear that it was all I thought about. I was desperate to have a fancy house party just like my friend, and I knew that Tom giving Freck a job would do that. So I got carried away with the lavish lifestyle of the new friends I got introduced to. Should have known better, but I didn't, so I got carried away by the tall man who owned a successful company. I'll be calling him Tom, by the way. Tom was not attractive in any way, if that's what you're thinking. He had a big belly like those typical rich men, and he seemed like he lacked sleep. At that moment, all I did was admire his wealth. I didn't think of him in any other way except that. One way or another, I got drunk, and then my friend invited me to meet Tom. We exchanged numbers, and then I left the party. 2 weeks after that, I met up with Tom for coffee, and that's where my misery began. How did my misery begin? It started with how cunning Tom was. I thought he was just going to be a good man who wanted to help my husband, but instead he was a predator, and I became his prey. I told him I needed help and asked him if he could hire Greg or give him a position at his workplace. I didn't ask him for money because I knew that would crush Greg's pride. Tom didn't say yes or no immediately. He just decided to let me know Greg was lucky to have a wife like me. He told me that I wasn't even supposed to be the one looking for a job for my husband. I tried to ignore all the sweet words at first, but it was only a matter of time before it started getting to my head. After up to 3 meetings with Tom, I started feeling like I married a failure. Tom had been spending money on me and telling me I needed to be treated as a princess instead of going around begging people to get a job for my husband. As a result of all those things, I actually started believing them. I got irritated with Greg in the house and just felt like he wasn't doing enough to bring money to the house. I started comparing Greg with Tom, and then I began to believe everything Tom was telling me. I won't lie and try to make it seem like a part of me didn't get carried away. I started following Tom out. He was buying me things, and then I forgot the reason why I even contacted him in the first place. At some point, Greg brought Leah back into the house, and my daughter started living with us again. Leah turned. Yes, DMT turned 16 yet, but she was still very smart. How smart was she? Well, she was smart enough to catch me calling Tom secretly in the night. She knew I wasn't talking to Greg because he was asleep in the living room. That fateful day was the beginning of my troubles with my daughter. Never did I imagine that she would end up betraying me at the end of the day. She confronted me and I told her it was nobody. I never imagined that Leah didn't drop the topic or that she decided to keep an eye on me. I underestimated her, and that was the mistake I made. I had already started cheating Greg by that time, and Tom was already my affair partner. One day, Tom and I decided to go out on a special date, and I wore a very revealing dress that day. Leah was the only one at home when I left, so I didn't even worry about it. Tom and I were all over each other like an actual married couple. I forgot all about the date and moved on with my life. Tom and I continued dating for some time, but then I noticed that Tom was a very manipulative person. I realized that they actually had no good intentions. He was manipulative and just wanted to control me, so I decided to end with him. I also noticed that he didn't want to get me a job that would earn me money. He just wanted to be the one to give me money so he would have an upper hand. That's how I ended up breaking up with him. I instantly regretted everything because it dawned on me that I had gone the wrong way. I feel so beautiful cheating on my husband, and I wanted to take back everything I did. I tried to be a better wife and started to turn a new leaf unknown to me that my husband and daughter had been scheming behind my back. I had no idea that Leah had a video of me on the date with Tom and that she had gone ahead to show Greg the video. While I was dying with regret and trying my best to turn a new leaf, my own daughter was planning with her father on how to make me regret my actions. I know you all must be asking yourself how I got to know that they were planning to ruin my life. Well, it started when I started not to sing somewhere behavior from both Leah and Greg. I noticed that no matter what I did, they isolated themselves from me and formed what seemed like a clique. They stopped eating the food I prepared, and I noticed that Greg stopped giving me money altogether. At first I didn't bother because I still had enough money saved up from what Tom had given me. But then I got broke and had no choice than to get to the bottom of things. Even though I noticed that things were weird, I never saw what they had installed for me coming. I had started up a business secretly with the money I saved up from Tom. I also used part of the money from my money with Greg. We had a joint savings account, so I used some money from there. I planned on returning it when my business got successful. I didn't tell anyone about the business, so it came as a shock to me when I came to the store one day and found out that all the things I bought and saved up in the store were gone. There was absolutely nothing left, and it made me look like a crazy woman. Do you know just how stupid it made me look? I was alone in the empty store wondering where everything had gone, and also knowing fully well that I couldn't ask anyone where my things were because no one was aware of my business. I felt like going crazy, but I had to pull myself together and start asking people around the store. None of them knew what had happened because it was a Monday morning and no one was at work during the weekend. I just kept quiet and couldn't speak. What would I say to Greg when he asked me where I got money from to start a business? I would have to tell him about Tom, and then I would also have to tell him I stole from him. There was fire on the mountain, and the fire was so strong that it was burning me silently. There was nothing I could do to help myself rather than shut up and just let things be. I finally got to understand that a lie would need another lie, and then you would just keep lying. Do you know how hard it was for me to cope with the fact that someone stole everything I had, but I couldn't act on it because I stole too? As if that wasn't enough, I started noticing how distant Leah became. The worst part was that she stopped calling me mother. Greg stopped sleeping in the same room with me and started staying out late. In fact, Leah even left the house and went to Greg's maternal home without letting me know. She blocked my number and stopped contacting me. I tried asking Greg, but he was never at home. They left the whole house to me. You think that ghosting me was enough for them? Well, brace yourselves, because it was just the tip of the iceberg. Greg stopped providing for the house and left me broke and hungry. I needed energy to find who stole from me, but I had to worry about what to eat. My friend called one day and told me she saw Greg with another woman at a hotel. Yes, it's not a prank. That's the truth. I refused to believe it at first, but I discovered that she wasn't lying. Greg started cheating on me. Do you know how much that hurt me? I had been dying of guilt, but he went out of his way to cheat on me. I didn't like that at all, so I decided to confront him one day. What did I get in return? He gave me divorce papers. Yes, he did that. I went to confront him about his cheating, but instead he served me divorce papers and told me to go to hell. It's not just what he did that hurt me. It's the fact that I felt like I was going crazy. So many things were just happening, and I had no explanation for it. I was left to ask myself what I really did wrong, and why it seemed like life was just playing its cruel games on me. Then just when I decided to find the answers from my daughter, another stupid thing happened. So what else could happen, right? I mean, I'd already gone through a lot in the hands of both my husband and my daughter, but they were not done. When I went to visit Leah at her grandmother's house, I got the biggest embarrassment of my life. On a normal day, Greg's mother doesn't like me one bit. We have never been on good terms, and that's why I didn't come to look for Leah early enough. I just didn't want to come in contact with that woman, but at the end of the day, I had no choice but to see her because I needed to ask Leah questions. But when I came looking for Leah, it was Greg's mother I met. Leah had gone out with her friends, and so I had to meet his mother. That woman spoke down on me and had the audacity to call me cheap names. She called me the worst decision her child ever made, and then told me I was an embarrassment to a mother's. Of course, that hurt me a lot, and I didn't like the way she spoke to me at all. I left her place feeling very insulted that day. I was too worried and embarrassed to just let things go and go back home, so I decided to go to Greg's. I worked pleased since I didn't know where he was staying since he left the house. I was able to find Greg at his workplace, and even though he tried his best not to speak to me, I refused to listen to him and made sure I got some alone time with him. I confronted him about everything that had been happening and asked them why Leah had moved out of the house and why his mother had the audacity to speak to me anyhow. I also confronted him about the divorce and told him I was not going to sign the papers. I was so confident when I confronted him because I believed that he would act like his normal calm self and just give in to my demands. But instead, I got the shock of my life when he became very angry with me and embarrassed me in his workplace without thinking twice. Even in the presence of people, he called me a cheater and told me that he wanted nothing to do with me and that I should not expect him to bring Leah back to the house. I had a lot to say, but because of the way people are gathered around us, I had to leave. I also didn't like the factors and people were recording us, and I found it very embarrassing. I noticed that he didn't have a problem with it, so I came to the conclusion that he had a hand in it. I kept thinking about the fact that Book read and his mother called me she has, and that made me wonder if they found out I had been cheating on me. Even though I knew it was a possibility, I thought I was so clean and too careful with my movements that I didn't believe that anyone would have caught me. But all that confidence went to the drain when Greg came to the house with his lawyer to talk about the divorce. He told me he was aware that I had taken money out of our joint savings account without his permission. That really came as a surprise to me because I knew Greg wasn't one to check his phone frequently. The debit appeared in his messages and I deleted it, so I was surprised that he was able to notice. He wanted me to return the money within 2 days, or else I was going to lose everything I purchased with that money. It was at that moment that I discovered that he knew what happened to my goods. I asked him if he was the one who stole from me, and he told me he wasn't the one. He just told me that he knew the person who stole and would only reveal the person when I returned the money. Because I was desperate to get my life back on track, I went back to Tom and pleaded on my knees for him to lend me money. Tom refused to give me any money and told me that he no longer had any interest in me. I was so embarrassed and dejected that I had no choice but to loan the money from my bank. I had the confidence to do that because I believed I would end the money back once I got my stolen goods back. I was able to get the money and then give it to Greg. He then told me that he would tell me who stole the goods once I signed the divorce papers. Once again, I was stupid enough to sign the divorce papers in order to earn money. I was also made to sign a document that stated that I would not ask for any spousal support. That one was very easy for me to sign because I didn't even think Greg had any property or money that he could give me. I believe so much in the amount of money I have invested into stolen goals that I know that it was worth more money than any spousal support I could get because it was an investment that I would only appreciate. It was after I signed the divorce papers that I realized that I had been scammed by my own husband. Greg told me he didn't know who stole the goods and that he only said that so it could get me to do what he wanted. It felt like I was running mad, and I felt so dejected because I didn't expect him to do that to me. The betrayal was cruel, and I felt like I was so alone with no one to support me. What hurt me most was when I discovered that Greg actually knew what happened to my goods. G didn't just know, he was the one who stole it. When I found out, I was so angry that I almost ran mad. I refused to let it go and decided to tell my lawyer. I waited till 2 months after our divorce was finalized to take the case to court. I sued him for theft of property. My lawyer tried his best, but I just didn't have any evidence. The fact that I didn't tell anyone about it made it hard for the court to believe he was a culprit. His lawyer argued that Greg couldn't steal from a business he didn't know existed till after its destruction. With no evidence, I was literally crushed in court. The only evidence I had was the recording of him admitting to it when I confronted him, but then Leah deleted the recording from my phone after making me think she just wanted to type in the phone number she didn't block me on. Even after I found out she was the one that showed Greg the video of me cheating, I received her with open arms when she apologized to me and said she was sorry. I'm still a mother and I got soft. I never imagined that Greg was using my own daughter against me. Leah teamed up with him to get revenge on me for cheating on him. He claimed that's what I deserved for being greedy, neglecting my daughter and stealing from him. I never got my goods back, yet he calls me a thief. The main reason I even went to Tom was for him. I feel betrayed by my husband and daughter and I'm in debt. It's so cruel. Update. Hi guys, they say time heals all wounds, but I can tell you for free that my wounds are yet to heal. I'm still yet to speak to my daughter after 3 months and she has made no move to reach out to me. Not even Greg cares. He's dating some other lady now and has forgotten all about me. I keep sending him texts asking for my money, but he keeps ignoring me. In fact, he has blocked me many times. My bank is on my neck and I'm barely feeding well. The fact that I've lost my business is just too hurtful. If this is a bad dream, then I need to wake up. Someone please help. I feel so betrayed. It hurts, it really does.